Yes, I'm AASHA TIKOO. I'm the graduate recruitment manager at Clifford Chance. Been with the firm for about, coming on to 10 years. Not sure where those years have gone, but here we are. And yeah, delighted today to be talking about Undergraduate of the Year and this fantastic opportunity to gain some experience with the firm and many other things. So thanks for having me, George.
Excellent, thank you very much. I now introduce the next member of our panel, ZAREEN Roy-MACAULEY, last year's Undergraduate of the Year.
Thank you, George. Hi, everyone. My name is Zareen. I was the winner of the Undergraduate of the Year Award 2020. I'm a recent graduate of the University of Cambridge, studying human, social and political sciences. And I'm really happy to be here today to answer some questions and hopefully flesh out the process a little bit more.
Excellent, thank you. And finally, I would like to introduce Lizzy Finch, who was one of the finalists in last year's competition.
Hi, thanks, George. Hi, everyone. I'm Lizzie. My pronouns are they, them. And as George said, I was a finalist for last year's award. I'm a recent graduate from the University of Surrey, where I studied psychology on a 4-year course with a placement year. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here to answer some questions and hopefully say some useful things for you all.
Excellent. I suppose we might as well get started with the first question, which is I just wondered if one of you could give us a brief overview of what the Undergraduate of the Year Award is and sort of what that's about. AASHA, perhaps I wonder if you're the best place to open us for that.
Yeah, definitely. So Undergraduate of the Year is an awards program that we have been partnering with Target Jobs for the last 3 years, and really it's about the competition's about identifying those outstanding individuals who are in the LGBT plus, either sort of role models, pioneers, people who are really pushing the boundaries within this community to set themselves as role models for other people in the community that are excelling and doing things that are really meaningful. And the Young Activist of the Year Award, which was the Social Impact Award last year, but this year we've changed it ever so slightly, is similarly trying to identify those young outstanding individuals. This award actually is open to Year 13 students, but as well as undergraduates, but we're really looking for those people that are sort of championing social change, whether that's to do with access to justice, finance, education, and sort of making changes within their own community. So we're trying to give a platform to those real advocates for change, people who are not afraid to do something about something they are unhappy about, or that sits uncomfortably with them, or has a wider contribution to society in general. And we're looking to sort of find those individuals and give them a much bigger platform from which to continue their efforts, but also, if at all, obviously offer them many opportunities of work experience with us at Clifford Chance within our firm. So that's what they're about.
That's fantastic. And as I'm pretty sure Clifford Chance aims to be the #1, I think it is, law firm of choice for LGBT graduates. That must link in quite nicely then, I imagine, in terms of trying to sort of, prove that commitment. But you know what I mean? I think there must be quite a nice sort of overlap there.
It's definitely part of our overall sort of strategy, if you like. I mean, inclusion and diversity is at the core of the firm's values, and therefore, has become a really important thing to us in graduate recruitment. But and we for a long time have been heavily involved in LGBTQ efforts and widening our community, and desperately trying to seek out talent within those communities, and at the same time, within our own organisation, we're taking strides to ensure that we are creating as inclusive and comfortable an environment for anyone of any background to thrive and really show off their talent, because we believe that exceptional talent comes in all its forms. And so, yes, this ties in really nicely with those efforts, and has enabled us over the years that we've been running it to engage with some really exceptional individuals like Zareen, like Lizzie, like Tom, and the countless other candidates that have come through the competition. So yes, it definitely ties into our LGBT employer of choice, but it really actually stems from a core value of the firm and our commitment to diversity and inclusion.
That's fantastic. That's really, really quite amazing to hear. I suppose I might then come to maybe Lizzie or Zareen just to wonder sort of what that process looks like. Just to, you know, if you can remember, I appreciate it's been a very long time now, but if you remember at all, what sort of you went through in that process to sort of get where you did in the end. Oh, and if perhaps maybe Lizzie, if you want to start us on that, if you.
Sure, you could see our eyes just like me and Zareen, like, you, me? Yeah, it feels like a very long time ago now. I guess the first stage, of course, is the application stage, which is where you'll be answering a few questions in a form about your experiences as an LGBT person, and also about the work that you've done for the community. And I loved that stage personally. I felt it was a really good stage for like reflecting on kind of what I'd done and validating the work that I'd done, and also reflecting on me personally as an individual, as an LGBT person myself, you know, what I would recommend for people, how it feels to exist as part of that community in society and things like that. So that was a really great opportunity to kind of show a really personal side to an application. Then pretty sure we moved straight on to an assessment centre if you got past the application stage. Oh wait, I missed a bit. You had to do some tests. I've done so many tests recently because I'm trying to get a graduate job that honestly I just wiped them from my mind. You do a few tests. I think Watson Glaser test, that one. Nothing to be scared of, obviously, and there's quite a few resources online, and I'm pretty sure Clifford Chance offers some resources as well. So it was all a very like steady and smooth process. I found that first bit, and then you go on to an assessment centre. For us last year, we were actually lucky enough that we could go. It was just before all of this happened, and I remember turning up and having to sign a bit of paper saying I didn't have COVID, which now seems bizarre to do, but we did. And yeah, that was a handful of us, I guess, all meeting and networking with each other, just having a good chat about what our experiences are, where we've come from and that kind of thing. And the assessment centre itself is pretty similar, I'd say, to assessment centres maybe you've done before for placements and things like that, where, you know, you have a task and you're asked to write about it or talk about it and that kind of thing. And I thought, personally, this sounds so nerdy probably to say, but I really liked the process. I think it allows you to kind of show lots of different sides of yourself, you know, from the personal aspect to the work that you've done, to being able to write and also have a conversation with someone. So it's quite well-rounded, and you'll be able to show, you know, your different strengths and skills and stuff throughout. So that's a bit of an overview.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, Zareen, I know Lizzie has covered it quite extensively there, right? I don't know if there was anything you wanted to add to that at all. Or...
Yeah, I think that was pretty comprehensive. Thank you, Lizzie. I don't think I could have done a better job. But perhaps one thing Lizzie's missed that I really enjoyed, that wasn't necessarily part of the assessment process, but was kind of part of the award process, was Clifford Chance inviting us to the National LGBTQ Students Conference, which I believe is one of the biggest, or if not the biggest, LGBTQ student conference in the UK, which was really, really fun, really interesting. And then after having a kind of meet with some of the trainees, some of the lawyers who practice at Clifford Chance, some of the students on the vacation scheme, which I thought was really valuable, a really kind of warm and informal way of meeting people who work at the firm and getting to know how the firm operates in a casual setting. And some of those people who I've met, I actually am still in contact with. So I thought that was a really, really great part of the process that I actually haven't heard mentioned that much in some of these types of webinars that I've done. So something to mention.
Absolutely. I have very, very stick out memories, I think, of the end of National Student Pride, the Clifford Chance, sort of the LGBT undergrad group going out after that. I think it was Pussycat Dolls, I think, was on at Heaven that evening.
It was.
What fantastic, man. I just, yeah, no, that can't be overstated. Absolutely. I suppose then, to go into my next question, I know sort of Lizzie and Zareen, you've definitely touched on your experiences a lot, but I just wondered if maybe Ash, if you'd be able to tell you about sort of what your role is with the LGBT Undergraduate of the Year Award and sort of where you sort of fit into this.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, Well, my role at the firm, my official title is Graduate Recruitment Marketing Manager. So I generally tend to look after anything to do with sort of the brand of graduate recruitment, and with regards to Clifford Chance, so anything you see from the visuals to anything to do with our marketing, really. And so with the competition, I've been heavily involved in promoting our winners from 2020. More recently, Zareen and I worked on something with Attitude 101, which was really exciting, and obviously arranging all these live chats and these sessions to really get the word out about the competition. So that's what my role has been. Annabelle, back in the team, actually runs the competition itself, so she spearheads it, but we're all sort of all hands on deck and involved in various aspects, so I can still answer lots of questions about the competition. But yeah, my role ultimately is to ensure that the winners and the competition itself is well promoted and accessible to those sort of target groups of candidates that we're after, that we're looking to attract, ensuring that the LGBT plus award, of course, is being promoted in the right places to attract the talent that we want for that, and similarly with the activist award. So yeah, that's my role.
That's perfect. I just wondered, we've sort of hit, so Lizzie and Zareen again, sort of come back to you. You mentioned, Lizzie sort of point out about, the assessments, the presentations, and sort of bits and pieces like that. I wondered at all if you could maybe tell us a little bit about what you put into your application. I remember we had sort of mentioned about, I think it was an LGBT project we've been working on and presenting that. I wonder if you could just sort of share with our sort of graduates the sort of things that you'd done to get as far as you did. Maybe Lizzie, if you'd like to start.
Sure, nice avoiding. Yeah, so I spoke mostly about my placement through my application, alongside, the other things about more personal sides of being LGBT myself and things. And on my placement, I worked in HR for Pfizer, actually, as one of their undergraduates. And my role primarily was to do with the gender pay gap and that analysis in the UK. But because it was a new role, it was very flexible, which essentially meant I could just do things that I wanted to do. So I really got hugely involved in the diversity and inclusion stuff in Pfizer UK. So I got involved with policy review. I became a member of the steering committee for the LGBT network, the colleague resource group at Pfizer. And all of those connections and things like that led me to get involved in writing and developing the transitioning in the workplace documents for the UK company. And that was essentially the biggest achievement I did on my placement. There wasn't anything like this for trans colleagues. And because I was sat in HR, I got to look at those policies and I could see that there wasn't anything for trans colleagues. And as a non-binary person myself, this was quite a personal thing. I thought, I'm not being represented potentially. And this is a great chance for me to go, why don't I just put the effort in and create that, representation and then that legacy for future trans colleagues. So that obviously took a while, but it was a constant project over my placement. And they were published, unfortunately, after I left, but everything, I wrote everything up and sent it off to the board, and it existed in the board for a while. And those are now, the ones that I wrote are the official Pfizer UK Transitioning in the Workplace Guidelines, which is super cool and very exciting, especially for someone who went into my placement as like a 20-year-old thinking, this is fine, corporate can't be that intense, and finding all those barriers and those stepping stones you have to get through and all that kind of thing. But yeah, that's what I brought, and it is still one of my proudest achievements, and it's a great success story for me to kind of wave around. But yeah,
absolutely. And I said you hit the nail on the head there. Even sort of step to the award, that's a sort of a fantastic achievement. Sort of, I suppose that's really what this is about, sort of promoting those kind of success stories. Zareen, if you perhaps want to share with us what your input was.
Sure. Can I just say, Lizzie, I don't ever get tired of hearing that story. It's amazing. So the work that I mostly did was around a society called Fuse in Cambridge, so the University of Cambridge. Fuse is a society for BME LGBTQ people that existed before me, but I came into the society in my second year of university. I had just been the African and Caribbean Society's first LGBTQ officer, and I was kind of thinking, well, what next? What more is there to do? And I saw Fuse, which I thought was an opportunity that was kind of going underdeveloped. There was no real structure to it. There was no real society, no budget, very ad hoc events. And knowing that myself as a Black queer woman who really values community and values having space to express those identities, I knew that Fuse could potentially be a place for BME people, BME LGBTQ people who are in essence a minority within a minority in Cambridge, to have a home, to have a space. So kind of, I suppose, bulldozed my way through and thought, this is what we need to do. We need to restructure the society to implement a functional committee with specified tasks, introduced a treasurer, a PR officer. I lobbied the student union for funding. I kind of renewed the term card so that we had a variety of events, and my committee were amazing, really. And it meant that after 2 terms, we ended up being the point of call for BME LGBTQ people within the university. It's now a pretty established space, safe space for individuals of that identity. And definitely, as Lizzie mentioned, is one of my proudest achievements, because that's a home, that's a community now. So that's what I did.
That's excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. Those are both really fantastic stories, and I'm really grateful that you can share those with us. And so I suppose my next kind of question is sort of to AASHA then, to say, is there scope for more? What kind of people are Clifford Chance looking for in the applications of these awards?
Well, I just want to say, I mean, there could be no 2 better people on this call to really showcase what this whole award is about. What I love about both Zareen and Lizzie's stories is that their efforts have really stemmed from a really personal place, a need to fulfill something that really means something personally to them. And therefore, with any project that you pursue that has that sort of personal root, if you like, it almost can feel effortless, but the impact can be, incredible. And that's exactly what both of them have done, in a very sort of simple, innocent sort of way, approached these issues and have gone on to make, real waves and change in the lives of many people to come, and I think that's exactly it. We're looking for those people who, you don't have to be doing the most flashiest thing. We're not looking for someone who's coming to the award with already a truckload of awards on their back, or feeling that they need to have been all bells and whistles. It's people who identify something, feel passionately about something, and make an effort to change that, either for themselves and their community. So I think these 2 are perfect with regard, their examples are exactly what we're looking for, because that in itself, those experiences themselves, those achievements, tell us so much about them as individuals, their drive, their passion, their commitment to their cause, particularly in this space where it's not always a straightforward journey. It's not always, it can be a bit of a rocky road, a little, so I think, they are great role models and examples of what we're looking for. And similarly with the activist award, it's the same sort of concept. It's people who are identifying issues, making change, and not afraid to put themselves out there to ultimately make a better community, build a better community for everyone.
Fantastic. So those sort of people that, you know, have overcome sort of adversity in some way. So am I correct, so I suppose, then, to understand, you know, you'll have an LGBT undergraduate somewhere who may have overcome, you know, personal difference, or, you know, some sort of perhaps an obstacle, and, you know, this is equally for them. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, the proactive. As I said, we've had two fantastic opportunities here of really like hands-on, but even things like just overcoming personal sort of barriers, you know, equally valid then in terms of application.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, obviously, you know, if you're able to benchmark, you know, your efforts, that makes it easier for us to sort of, you know, see clearly what the impact of your efforts have been. So, I mean, of course, you know, if people have had a difficult journey or an experience, you know, they should include that if they think that it's relevant in the submission. But ultimately, what this particular award is looking to celebrate are those people that have, as a result of those feelings or those experiences, have been able to go on to make changes. So I mean, ultimately, I think there needs to be something that you're writing about that tells us why your experience has led you to do something or propelled you into action to either take on a role in a certain area, and therefore you might be the only LGBT person in a particular industry, or you might be the first LGBT person to have been doing a particular type of thing. We'd love to hear from you. Equally, you might be someone that is, you know, starting up a society at university, or doing something within your local community, or setting up something online for people to be able to come and talk. Anything that is enriching the community is, you know, is what we want to hear about. But what I'm saying is the scale of it doesn't have to be necessarily enormous. What we're really trying to determine here is you know, who that person is, how they think, what they've been able to turn their experience into, and how that has potentially impacted others. So yeah, that can come in a whole variety of different forms, and we're really keen to see a breadth of different type of applicant.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. That's really, really helpful, really in depth there. I suppose my next question, probably more of an awkward one. I just want to know, how has the award adapted to the pandemic? I mean, as said, as Lizzie and Zareen so both kind of picked up on, we were going through it just as things were starting to sort of shut down, you know, sort of questions about, you know, I remember the final ended up, so we're going to virtually. Sort of how has the award sort of, you know, adapted to that? Do you know?
Yeah, so I mean, like with everything, there's always a virtual way to do everything. I think everyone's discovering, you know, I mean, ultimately, you know, ideally, if we were in a position to do this physically, we'd love to be able to see each other face to face. However, there has been a sort of, you know, silver lining to this, in that I've probably seen Zareen and Lizzie more than I would have done had we have been doing this physically. We've been able to sort of, you know, join in with these sorts of chat a lot on email, mainly me badgering them all the time, but they've been kind enough to accommodate me and my demands. But no, I mean, with the competition this year, obviously everything is planned to take place virtually. But as soon as we get the green light to move any of it back into the physical world, we will. But in terms of the assessments and everything like that, you know, it's being planned with a view to it taking place online via online platforms. So if you go on to register either on our website or the Undergraduate of the Year website, you'll be able to see the different stages of assessment, and, you know, how they will take place. And then similarly with the awards themselves, that may well end up being a virtual ceremony this time, and some of the prizes we may look to run virtually if we're not in a position to do it physically. But, you know, where possible, and if things change, everything's always subject obviously to the government guidelines, we will look to move back to physical activity as and when we are allowed to. But for now, we're planning for everything to take place on virtual platforms.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. That as a sort of, a great sort of insight in how it's going to imagine. You're absolutely right. It's so nice that we can do these things virtually now and overcome hurdles that, 10, 15 years ago would have been very, very different based on timing. But yeah, no, I suppose one of my next big questions then is purely about timescales. What kind of timescales are we looking for here for our attendees, for anyone watching this, to say, look, you've seen this now. When do you have to do this by? When can you expect to hear back? These sort of timescales,
Yeah, so you need to apply. I mean, the deadline for applications is the 1st of Feb. I might have to get the other two to jump in a minute to fine tune some of the later bits. But yeah, the 1st of Feb is the actual deadline for submissions. But there are the tests and a few steps that you need to take prior to actually finally sort of entering and submitting. So if you are planning on entering, I would say really start to have a look at the website now, start to look at what it would entail, give yourself, start to plan ahead for the various steps. After that, it's with a view to the ceremony. Now, this is where I might need Zareen or Lizzie to jump in, but from that first submission, do you recall when the next stage of it was? Just bear with me. I might be able to find out a little bit more detail while Zareen and Lizzie fill us in.
So once you've submitted your application, the next stage is the kind of online assessment. So the Watson-Glaser tests, which I believe was in a kind of span of a couple of weeks. And then the next step is the assessment center, which Lizzie, maybe you can correct me on, but I think that was within a month of the online tests. And from there, unfortunately, the pandemic kind of interfered, and our awards ceremony was actually in September, where it should have been in April, I think.
Yeah, Zareen, that's great. What I've just checked, we are actually going to be running the assessments in March. So, and the later dates have not yet been finalised with regards to what happens with the ceremony because of the pandemic. But I think at the moment the core deadline is getting everything in for the 1st of Feb, with a view to assessments being in March and the event itself being in sort of late summer, probably autumn time. But we will obviously update people as they go along. But the first deadline is the 1st of Feb, which is what everyone needs to work towards.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Just on those assessments quickly, is it going to be similar to how it was sort of last year, sort of where I think I recall it was a case study and then our presentation, or has that changed in some way? What were those assessments look like this year? Do you know?
Yeah, it will be almost an identical process to what Zareen and Lizzie have been through. I don't know if one of you two wants to go through what you actually had to do to give a little bit more detail to what people can expect.
Sure. So the actual assessment center was firstly, as has been mentioned, a presentation on the work that you've done. So I believe mine was maybe a maximum 10-minute presentation to a senior member of AASHA, the LGBTQ network at Clifford Chance, where I presented my work, and then there was the opportunity for questions from that senior member, which was, I thought, really fun and a great chance to articulate the work that I had done to someone who had no idea of anything kind of prior to that. So that was great. And then the next section was a case study where we had to look over, I believe it was a case around social impact, because the assessment centre was very similar for the social activist, the Young Activist Award. So it was a case study around social impacts to do with that type of work. And we essentially had to read it, I believe, scan for opportunities, risks, consequences, and discuss that with a kind of panel of interviewers, which was far more casual than I had thought, and actually was just a really, I thought, a really thought-provoking conversation.
Excellent. I don't know if you had anything you want to add to that at all, Lizzie. Perfectly fine. If not, I appreciate Zareen's done a great job covering. Fantastic. My next question, more looking at the end of it then. So what, I don't know if it's been decided yet, but what can sort of the next undergraduate of the year sort of expect? What is the winning there, sort of the prize, etc.?
So yeah, so for this award we're offering £500. It's a sort of package of awards. There's £500 towards your initiative if you are running one, or sort of an equivalent to sort of help fund your efforts, or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, followed by some tailored work experience opportunities, either within our diversity and inclusion teams, or possibly some experience via our Spark scheme, so an opportunity to get some work experience on Spark. And then also we are obviously just assisting with sort of anything that you need with the initiative, so helping to raise your voice, raise your platform, help to promote in any way that we can, and obviously end up with the title of Undergraduate of the Year. Now, Lizzie and Zareen might have a little bit more to add with regards to where that sort of profile adding can take you. We really want to help sort of broadcast the message that you're trying to give, or help augment your status and as a role model within the community. But as I mentioned earlier, for example, there have been some really positive other opportunities that have come out of the award, particularly, I mean, Zareen being last year's winner, she might have a couple of stories to share about what's happened since, but it's a great award to have recognition for. Obviously you end up with that looks great on your CV in that sense. Also, the additional work experience opportunities that you gain at the firm are really invaluable at the moment, because as we know, work experience opportunities are a little less available than they used to be, and of course the cash reward is there to support in your efforts, or in any other way that we see fit, depending on the winner and what they're doing. And tailored experience as well is another opportunity that could be available to the winner.
Excellent, thank you. I wondered, maybe if we go sort of straight to you, Zareen, just to sort of share, where are you now since winning?
Sure. So yes, there have been some incredible upsides to the award, not least the award itself, which has definitely looked fantastic on my CV. I've kind of blasted it everywhere on LinkedIn, which has been but as well as that, I recently was named one of Attitude Magazine's 101 Trailblazers, which was fantastic, and AASHA kind of surprised me with that, but it was a fantastic way to end 2020 and go into 2021 with, and was just a huge honor to be recognized for that work, and the kind of potential work that I could also engage in to do with the community that I really value. So that was really great. As well as that, it's definitely really widely recognized. I work in an educational charity right now, and having that credentials has been really good, because it means that my professional network expands with the recognition that I have experienced outside of the immediate work that I've done, with the view of kind of, again, looking forward to continuously engage with the LGBTQ community and impactful work there. So that's been really great. And also, I completely forgot to mention, but it's opened up a whole new career path to me that I did not consider at all. Had not planned to go into law, and now I am very seriously pursuing it. So again, several upsides.
And Lizzie, sort of where are you now, sort of about a year onwards then, or a couple of months on from?
Yeah, I think Zareen's brought up some fabulous points. It sounds great. I'm very happy for you. It sounds fabulous. And I do think like that networking side is something I didn't really think about when I applied. And I hate the word networking because I'm a young person and I don't like the word, but I understand it's useful and potentially necessary sometimes. But seriously, having those contacts in a field that actually I wasn't that interested in, and hadn't really ever experienced or met many people in the law field before, has been really valuable and really expanded my network. And just going to the assessment centre and meeting all of the people there who had all had these amazing stories behind them and this inspiring stuff that they'd done was just so inspiring and really validated, I feel, all of us, to be honest, that we'd all been you know, selected and uplifted and said, hey, the work you've done is really valuable and we appreciate it. And that, as a young person, where there's, you know, often quite a few barriers, whether that is, you know, your own insecurity or barriers within a company that's a bit more structured than maybe you're used to and stuff like that. It's so validating to have, you know, these people saying your work is really valuable, and also look at all the rest of you. There are so many of you doing some really great stuff. So that for me was something I didn't expect to get from the whole award, but I really did get, and was such a valuable thing for me to just kind of have as a person now, you know, going into the big wide world after graduation and all of that. So yeah, really fabulous stuff.
Excellent, thank you for that. And I can definitely echo that. I said, you know, the three of us were in the same sort of cohort for the award that year, and I think what particularly stood out to me was just the level of support I think we had for each other. You know, we turned up at Clifford Chance's office, we'd done the small tour, and we'd had a chance to really sort of network and get to know each other. And I think I recall us coming out of those interviews that we'd been doing, a couple of like, oh my God, you know, I made this mistake or I forgot that, and then just how the rest of them came straight back around to go, no, it's fine. Like, you know, there, as much as it is a competition, it didn't feel like at any point anyone was particularly trying to sabotage or tear each other down, which was a really nice sort of feeling in an award. And, you know, the friendships we've made from it, I said, both on the nights out and in the after work bits, and sort of where we are since, you know, without naming anyone, I think a couple of people, you know, the way they've used that, I think a few of them are running businesses now and sort of, you know, involved with Clifford Chance, you know, really sort of fantastic. I should also note there are other finalists who aren't here. We've had other people that have done the award that have gone and said to become trainees at Clifford Chance that have involved at all levels. Those watching this may remember, if you attended Work Pride over the summer, many of the speakers that joined us have been involved in the Undergraduate of the Year award as well. I suppose I would then come to my next question, and I suppose this is a broad one because I want to hear all of your perspectives on this. I'll probably come to you first, AASHA, if that's all right. Is just wondering, what do you think would make an applicant really stand out in this award? What, you know, is going to make them, you know, ahead of the crowd?
Authenticity. That's what this whole thing's about. It's about bringing your authentic self to this award. I mean, anyone who knows us at Clifford Chance, anyone who's been following us for the last few years knows that we have been desperately committed to ensuring leveling the playing field, bringing, you know, eradicating as much bias as possible in all of our assessment processes, and ultimately striving to get to that point where we are attracting people and creating an environment where they feel the most comfortable to bring their full authentic selves to work. And this is echoed throughout this award as well. So the people that will get noticed are the ones that are, yes, authentic, telling us real stories, really showcasing their ability to drive things forward, or to take a stand, or be bold, or be creative in a space, represent their community, and relay that passion, skill, and ability through their application. You know, ultimately there is, you know, the possibility to get a training contract with us, as you said, previous winners have gone on to become future trainees, like Tom Moran, who many people know or have been following. He's a great example of someone who's sort of completed the whole journey and ended up with us. You know, there is that aspect that, you know, if this is also to help build your personal profile in the corporate world, if that's where you want to end up. So, you know, ensuring that you're relaying those sorts of skills, those transferable skills, you know, that will be important. That's what the tests are there for, there to identify. So I think, yeah, the people that will stand out are those very people. The people like the Zareens, like the Lizzies, like the Toms, who are telling true, authentic stories about themselves, and are able to get that across effectively through the process.
Excellent, thank you. Do you mind if I come to you next, Lizzie?
Sure. Yeah, I really think that authenticity is kind of hit it right on the head, to be honest. And I think something to really think about while at that first stage of applying is reflect on why you're doing what you're doing. And that means that then your authenticity will come through. So a lot of what I was thinking about was, well, why did I want to do these things? Why did I push past all the barriers and blah, 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 and all the stuff in the way? And actually, what was the root of the reason why you wanted to do something? And don't be afraid to touch on, you know, that personal side, because I think for a lot of us with this, it does come from such a personal place as to why we're doing it. And obviously, I'm doing it for everyone else, but also there's a part of me that's really doing it for me and saying there's people like me out there who need this, and I am in this position and I can do it. So really dig down and think, why did I want to do this in the first place, and how best can I put that across and show, you know, my authentic self then through talking about that. But yeah, I really think that is like one of the main things. Obviously you can talk about skills and experience and all that blah blah blah, but I think, you know, there's always going to be a personal reason, and that will really make you stand out. That's what's unique about what's happened. You know, we all might have experienced similar things or really different things, and we might have had similar work experience, really different work experience, but we each as individuals are going to, you know, experience those things as ourselves. And so that's a really valuable thing to really try and put across as best you can in your application.
Excellent, thank you. And then, you know, finally, Zareen, sort of, you know, what your recommendations are.
Sure. Definitely everything that Ash and Lizzie have said, but I think the one thing that I'd try and hammer home is confidence, which sounds like a bog standard one, but I just don't think that I think that, you know, confidence in being able to articulate the projects that you've worked on or the things that you really value is so important here. It's just not the time for modesty. I think shouting your achievements from the rooftops is the best way to go, because there are so many different stages of the process that you'll need to articulate yourself. And occasionally you might doubt yourself. Occasionally I thought, you know, my initiative is me and my BME LGBTQ mates trying to pull people into a room, and those those small doubts just have no place in the process, because it's much more than that. And I had to be the one to remind myself that no, this is a community that you value, a community that you're trying to build, an initiative that is really, really important and deserves to have you articulate in the best way you can. So I just think this kind of constant reassurance of yourself, of the importance of your achievements, is really, really important. Not many people can do it for you. I think you're the most important champion of your own successes, is my general philosophy in life, but definitely for this process.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's just excellently put. And I think, this is what this award is about. It's about breaking down hurdles, you know, improving access, making people, you know, flinging open the doors to everyone. And I think, yeah, confidence plays a big part in that. But you may not be the most confident person in the world and still enter this competition, but it's confidence in your efforts, which is what I think Zareen is trying to get across. And that's absolutely it. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you for summing that up. Genuinely, it's great to, you know, to hear that sort of from the three of you. It's a really, really sort of uplifting thing. So I think we're going to come to our Q&A in a moment, guys. So those in the audience, if you have any further questions, I appreciate we've spoken for a while now, so you may not. Please feel free to leave them in the Q&A box. Whilst we wait for those though, I have one last question for the three of you. Just quickly, why would you recommend to our graduates listening taking part in this award? If I come to you first, Lizzie.
Sure. I kind of feel like there's nothing to lose. And it seems like an odd thing to say, but you literally cannot lose from just going for this. And this is, for me, this is mostly because I somehow managed to get just so much from the initial stage in the reflection that I had to do to be able to write what I did. Because, so this was, when was I applying? I was applying this, oh goodness me. I mean,
you were a 2020 winner, so you would have applied in 2019.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, so I applied when I did, but the experiences that I had weren't exactly in that present time, right? It happened and I'd experienced it and I'd thought, oh, I guess I could talk about that in this application. And so I had to really reflect on what I'd actually done and like sit down and write it all out, and then I'd remember, oh, I also did this thing and I used this skill and that kind of thing. So because that happens at the initial stage, you can't lose out. You're always going to gain something for applying for this kind of thing. And And it's just great. It's just a great time to validate yourself, to reflect on what you've done, to meet new nice people, to have good contacts. Honestly, it's fab. I'm so glad I did it. And it feels like this is not fake, guys. I'm seriously saying I think it was really useful for me. So yeah, I'd say there's nothing to lose. You might as well just go for it and see what happens.
Thank you very much. And AASHA, what would you recommend taking this?
I mean, you know, yeah, I'm trying to not sort of go over anything I've said already. I mean, it is just a fantastic opportunity for you to get your amazing efforts noticed. If you're someone that's a trailblazer, a role model, you know, like Lizzie says, just do it, just go for it. It will give you even more exposure, give your efforts even more of a platform. It can propel you into that commercial world if that's something that you're interested in, prepare you for that, offer you incredible opportunities that would otherwise not be available on the basis of telling us what you're passionate about. And I think that, you know, it's an alternative way into securing work experience and opportunities that otherwise would require quite a laborious assessment process. And I guess there is assessments involved here, but ultimately what this is coming down to is what you're passionate about, what you stand for, and what change you are making about something you care deeply about. So yeah, I think our two panelists here have told us so much about what they've gotten out of the award, and I think these are potentially things that you wouldn't get elsewhere. And I think I think there's so many opportunities to get out of it, as well as that added prestige, and it will boost your CV and any applications you go on to make with the recognition of it. So those would be my reasons.
Thank you so much for that. And finally, Zareen.
Yeah, definitely not much else to add after that. After kind of that summary from both AASHA and Lizzie. At every single stage, I've gained something. Every single stage, I've learned something. I've met new people, amazing people. I've learned more about myself and the initiative that I've worked on. I've learned more about what I want to do. And I really do just think the process, as Lizzie said, is fab. I've enjoyed it so much. And there's never been a point where I've even remotely regretted signing up. So please do go ahead and apply for it. There is nothing to lose and so much to gain.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, all three of you. We don't have any questions. Fantastic. Remember, guys, if you do have any questions, if it hits you afterwards, please get in touch and we can get as much information for you as possible. However, this sort of brings us to the end of the session here. I should stress again that the closing date to apply is the 1st of February. If you're watching this live, you will get a link after this session with a link to apply. If you're watching this on our social media afterwards, check the date first, make sure you're not past the 1st of February, and then you can find it on our website by searching Undergraduate of the Year. Please make sure I said 1st of February, cannot stress it enough. But with that said, we come to the end of the recording for this.